Fine. Today, as I said, I'm going to start with Indian polity, one of the 5 core subjects that you have for groups. Basically, this subject we have studied as, remember civics in school? You have studied this as civics. I think in class law, what I'm going to tell you is I'm going to give you a complete picture of what is the syllabus, how are the topics to be followed, how we are going to approach. Don't think that this is not part of the syllabus. Unless you know what is there, you can't study. Today I'm going to tell you what is there and how to study. So that from tomorrow onwards, when I continue with the class, you have a continuity. Ante manam ekkada modalu pedtunam. Ippudu alphabets cheppamante meer ABCD nundi cheptara lekapothe meeku nachinattu D F G Z Y ani cheptara. Kaadu kada, we have to know the order. So in today's class, we'll try to understand the complete syllabus of Indian polity. Okay, to begin with, the first thing that we are going to discuss would be about 2 basic terms. One is polity, the other is, okay, your subject is named as polity, but you end up reading constitution. So can I say that both these words are same? They are not the same. We need to understand what is the meaning of polity, what is the meaning of constitution, and what is the relationship between polity and constitution, how are they related to each other. Idi lekapothe you will not understand anything in Indian polity. So the basis would be understanding what is polity, what is constitution. E topic lo I am going to tell you the meaning of these 2 terms and relationship. Not just this, we are also going to discuss why constitution is important. What is the significance of constitution? Ikkada, when I tell you the significance of constitution, I'll also tell you what do you mean by, do we use this term very often? Tomorrow when you get into the system, you become a part of government. Ante kada, meer group 1, group 2 officers aithe what will you become? You will become a part of government. But did you ever think why do you need a government? Enduku unnali government? Undakapothe emaitadi? Why should you have a government? You are telling me what is government. I am asking you why you should have government. Enduku undala? Why should there be somebody to do service to you? Is government only doing service to you? What do you think the government is doing for you? మీ రోజువారీ జీవితాలలో గవర్నమెంట్ అనే ఒక ఎంటిటీ ఏం చేస్తుంది మీకు? So it is basically there to ensure that there is some kind of rules and regulations, discipline. Now, all that I am going to explain in constitution. Endukante first you should understand what is government, and government runs on the basis of constitution. Then we are going to discuss the different types of constitutions. This will be your first major part. I divide your syllabus into 5 parts. First major part will be introduction. Introduction lo the first topic that I am going to deal with will be polity and constitution. Chinna topic but very relevant, because this gives you a base to understand the subject. Rayoddu, I'll give you time to write. Please listen. Okay, after we finish this, then we are going to discuss about the framing of the Constitution of India. First we understood what is constitution, what is polity. Now it is time to understand about our own constitution. See, Indian constitution, all said and done, is a book. Okay, when I say it is a book, do you think it needs an author? Book danantata adi raskodu kada, somebody has to write it. They must have written it at some point of time. So here we are going to discuss how Indian constitution came into existence? అసలు కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ అనేది మనకు ఉండాలి అని ఎవరు చెప్పారు ఫస్ట్? హౌ డిడ్ వి థింక్ అబౌట్ రైటింగ్ అ కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్? వాట్ డిడ్ వి యాక్చువల్లీ డూ టు రైట్ ది కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్? హూ ఆర్ దోస్ పీపుల్ హూ రోట్ ద కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్? ఆల్ దిస్ విల్ బి డిస్కస్డ్ హియర్ ఇన్ ద ఫార్మ్ ఆఫ్ అ what do you mean by a timeline? Timeline ante I am going to tell you the related to framing the constitution. Which year we first said we want a constitution? Okay, which date did the constituent assembly first meet? So event emaitadi first meeting of the constituent assembly. Ee two topics meeda over the last few years, even in civil services, there has been at least one MCQ. So these topics are very important. You will have a lot of facts to remember. So I am going to cover all the facts related to. Did you hear this any time? What is this? What is a constituent assembly? In any subject there will be a few terms that are related to that subject. ఇప్పుడు మీరు ఇంజనీరింగ్ చేస్తుంటే మీ ఇంజనీరింగ్ ఆ సబ్జెక్ట్కి సంబంధించి కొన్ని టర్మ్స్ ఉంటాయి. అట్లాగే కాన్స్టిట్యూయెంట్ అసెంబ్లీ ఈజ్ అ టర్మ్ యూజ్డ్ టు డిస్క్రైబ్ ఎనీ గ్రూప్ ఆఫ్ పీపుల్ హూ రైట్ దేర్ ఓన్ constitution. For example, tomorrow you come to know that an ex-country has constituted its constituent assembly, formed its constituent assembly. And ardham enti? That ex-country is writing its constitution. So any body, any set of people or group of people who are writing the constitution of any country, aa group ni manam em antam? Constituent Assembly. Atla I am going to tell you about Indian Constituent Assembly. How many members were there? Who were the significant members? I am sure you must have heard of the drafting committee, or at least you should have heard that Dr. B.R. Ambedkar is known as why is he called as the father of constitution? Do you know 289 members, 299 members drafted the constitution, but why is it that only he is recognized as the father of Indian constitution? Correct ena? Endukante constituent assembly lo 299 members unde, but we are recognizing only one person as the father of the constitution. And why only him? Ivanni I am going to explain in framing of the constitution. Along with the timeline, I am also going to tell you about the national honors and symbols. What will be the national honors and symbols? Do we have anything that is recognized as a identity for this country? Amma? Flags God, we have only one flag. So flag. Inka? Awards undai. Awards are recognition. Anthem. Okay. Song. Do we have all this? Do you know that India has its own calendar? మీరు ఎప్పుడైనా గవర్నమెంట్ క్యాలెండర్ చూస్తే అలాంగ్ విత్ ద జార్జేరియన్ క్యాలెండర్ అంటే ఇంగ్లీష్ క్యాలెండర్ కింద అక్కడ ఇండియన్ డేట్స్ ఇండియన్ ఇవి ఇస్తారు చూసారు ఎప్పుడైనా? వాట్ ఈస్ ది ఇండియన్ క్యాలెండర్ కాల్డ్? వెన్ ఇస్ ది ఎరా ఆఫ్ ది ఇండియన్ క్యాలెండర్? వాట్ ఈస్ ద నేమ్ ఆఫ్ ది ఎరా ఆఫ్ ది ఇండియన్ క్యాలెండర్? వాట్ ఈస్ ది emblem ఆఫ్ ఇండియా? వాట్ ఈస్ రిటన్ ఆన్ ది emblem? సత్యమేవ జయతే. సో వాట్ ఈస్ ది emblem? ఇట్ ఈస్ ద సారనాథ్ లయన్ క్యాపిటల్ ఆఫ్ అశోక. ఇవన్నీ దే ఆర్ ఇంపార్టెంట్. మీకు సిలబస్లో డైరెక్ట్గా ఇవ్వకపోయినా జనరల్ అవేర్నెస్లో ఇవన్నీ అడుగుతున్నారు. సో వీఆర్ గోయింగ్ టు కవర్ ఆల్ దిస్ యాజ్ పార్ట్ ఆఫ్ framing of the constitution. Now once we finish with this, the third thing that we are going to discuss is, see, I first generally told you, I am going to tell you what is polity and what is constitution. Then we are going to discuss about the birth of constitution of India. Then we are going to discuss about the salient features of Indian Constitution. ఈ టాపిక్ నా ప్రకారం చాలా చాలా ఇంపార్టెంట్, బికాస్ ఇన్ దిస్ టాపిక్ ఐఎమ్ గోయింగ్ టు ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ సమ్ బేసిక్ టర్మ్స్. ఐఎమ్ షూర్ యూ మస్ట్ హ్యావ్ హర్డ్ ఆఫ్ పీపుల్ టెల్లింగ్ దట్ ఇండియా హ్యాస్ పార్లమెంటరీ ఫార్మ్ ఆఫ్ గవర్నమెంట్ అంటారా? బట్ we say that America has, does America have parliamentary form? What does it have? Presidential form of government. Okay, does America have a parliament? Yes, but we still say that it is presidential form of government. So there should be a difference between parliamentary form of government and presidential form of government, right? Likewise, we say India has federal form of government. Do we say that? Why do we say that India has federal form of government? Because we have different levels of government, central government, state government, but we say that Britain has unitary form of government. So here, along with the salient features, I'm first going to explain the basic terms related to government. And what are the salient features of Indian Constitution? See, how many of you agree with me that India is very different from other countries in the world? Can I make this statement? Why is our country different from other countries in the world? We have a very big diversity. No other country in the world can boost the kind of diversity that India has. Okay? Constitution should actually cater to this diversity. Constitution is a book according to which we lead our public lives. Okay, don't you think that this book should take into consideration our diversity? So constitution should also be very, very different from other constitutions. Salient features will tell you how Indian Constitution is different from other constitutions. Why do we say that Indian Constitution is very different from other constitutions? Inka simple ga cheppalante, I am going to tell you why and how Indian Constitution is unique. How is it different from other constitutions? This topic will take some time. It will take around 8 to 9 hours for me to complete, but I'm going to give you a complete picture of all basic terms. Cheppukuntu I'll tell you how Indian Constitution is different. Deentlone, within this there is another salient feature of Indian Constitution which is related to constitutional amendment. Okay, amendment is a term that is used only in law and polity. Amendment ante making a change. So whenever you're making a change in law, okay, politically speaking, we call it as amendment, subject related term. General ga cheppalante emani cheppali, making a change ani cheptam. Now the first question is, why should you make a change to the constitution? It is a book. It has been written long back. 1950 our constitution came into existence. But enduku marchali constitution ni? Why is there a need to change the constitution is the first thing. The second question I should answer is, how will you change the constitution? And the third is, who will have the power to change the constitution? Then I am going to tell you what changes took place till date. Mark my words, from this topic you will get at least 2 questions in group 2. This is very, very, very important. Okay, so these would be your first part. First part, introductory, is very important for you to understand. So in this first part I told you what is constitution, polity, how Indian Constitution has come into existence, what are the features of Indian Constitution. Okay, now once we finish with this, the next thing that we are going to discuss would be philosophy of a constitution. See, is muttam subject, I'll give you a very practical perspective where you can correlate with a lot of things in your life. Okay, imagine I'm writing a book. Okay, I decided to write a book, or you decided to write a book. Leda manam oka cinema cheddam anukunnam. Before you do this, do you think you should first think about on what I'm going to do it? నేను ఒక బుక్ రాయాలి అంటే ఆ బుక్ ఆబ్జెక్టివ్ ఏంటి, ఈ బుక్ ద్వారా నేను ఏం అచీవ్ చేయాలనుకుంటున్నా? షుడ్ ఐ థింక్ అబౌట్ ఇట్? యు వాంట్ టు మేక్ అ ఫిలిం. డోంట్ యూ థింక్ యూ విల్ ఫస్ట్ థింక్ అసలు ఈ ఫిలిం దేని మీద బేస్ చేయాలి, ఈ ఫిలిం ద్వారా నేను ఏం చెప్పాలనుకుంటున్నా, అవునా? దట్ ఈస్ ద ఫిలాసఫీ బిహైండ్ ద బుక్, దట్ ఈస్ ద ఫిలాసఫీ బిహైండ్ అ ఫిలిం. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, a movie that was very controversial has been in recent times has been Animal. I'm sure you must have heard, అవునా? కానీ మీరు రివ్యూస్ చదవండి, ఫస్ట్ దాని మీద సినాప్సిస్ ఇచ్చినప్పుడు దే ఆల్ సెడ్ దట్ ద మూవీ హైలైట్స్ ద లవ్ అ సన్ హ్యాస్ ఫార్ his father. So what is the philosophy behind it? The love that a son has, the filial devotion a son has towards his father. Adi main agenda petkoni he's made the entire movie. Atlage, what is the philosophy of Indian Constitution? Finally, what does Indian Constitution want to achieve? So this tells you the of the Constitution. Okay, now malli ikkada two questions. First thing is, I should understand what is the purpose of the Constitution. The second thing I should understand is, how will I achieve it? For example, all of you say that you want to crack group 1 or group 2, but that is your ultimate end objective. Now what will you do to crack the exam? You take coaching, you study, you write tests. Ivanni are the means to achieve the end. So what annadi is the end, how annadi will become your means. Ee what comes first is preamble tells you what is the purpose of the Constitution. How you achieve it? Very importantly, through fundamental rights, directive principles of state policy, and fundamental duties. This topic alone will take me around 20 plus hours. This topic is very important, and in this the most important will be fundamental rights. Every clause, every subclause, Supreme Court judgments, unni important. You have to know each and every line and word given in fundamental rights. Fundamental rights are the most important part of the Constitution. They are the essence of the Constitution. So this part we are going to study first the preamble, then we are going to study fundamental rights, DPSP, fundamental duties. I finish with this part, I finish 40% of your syllabus. ఎందుకంటే దిస్ అలోన్ కాన్స్టిట్యూట్స్ 25%, 1/4 of your syllabus. ఇవి మీరు ఎంత బాగా అర్థం చేసుకుంటే యూ విల్ అండర్స్టాండ్ ద హోల్ కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ that well. You will understand Supreme Court judgments very well. Judgments తీసుకొని I'm going to explain the basis for the judgment, because judgment based questions వస్తాయి మీకు. Okay, this is about the second part. Now once I finish with this, we arrive at the more practical aspect of the Constitution, that is government in India. I'm not saying of India. So what all types of governments do we have? First we have what is called as avuna, then we have then we have any other government, we call it as local. Did you hear about union territories? Do we have the same kind of setup in union territories? No, the way we govern union territories is a little different from the states. So UTs kaakunda, there are something called as scheduled and tribal areas. These are areas where you have scheduled tribes living. These are areas which have different set of rules and regulations. You have a different institution for governance. But became aitadante, this part overlaps with society, because STs gurinchi anni teliyali. Stop writing, please. Please stop writing. This part overlaps with society. Now indulo what do we study and how do we approach? First is in union government, I'm sure you must have heard of the terms. Did you hear about this? Executive, legislature, judiciary, and you have something called as CAG. Executive is headed by President, followed by Vice President, PM and Council of ministers. Okay, ikkada you have Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, but it also includes the president. Okay, judiciary here is only Supreme Court. Same arrangement you will have in state. You will have executive, legislature, judiciary, no CAG. Okay, can you tell me who will come under executive in state? Inka? We don't have a deputy governor. CM, council of, ikkada state legislative assembly, state legislative council may be there, may not be there. Ikkada you have, and do you have other courts like district courts, unnaya, metropolitan courts, all these courts are called as subordinate courts. Now when you have similar structure in union and state government, do you think the president and governor will have a similar role? I repeat my question. Manam union government lo you have the same setup, state government lo kuda more or less you have the same setup. So do you think this person's work and this person's work will be similar or different? They will be similar, because you are having the same kind of setup. Ardhamaitunda? That is the reason you should study president and governor together, so that you understand what are the similarities, what are the differences. Nenu same anledu, nen similar anna. Similar annappudu emaitadante 80% will be same, a little there will be a few differences. So how we are going to study this part is, we are first going to finish off with union and state executive, because we need to know how they are similar and how they are different. Then we have to study union and state, ఎందుకంటే the way parliament functions, the way state legislature functions is the same. ఇప్పుడు బడ్జెట్ సెషన్ అవుతుంది పార్లమెంట్ లో. Who introduced budget in the parliament? Finance minister. Who will introduce budget in the state legislature? Finance minister. Mana case lo it has been, there have been instances in Telangana where the CM has introduced, but otherwise it is the finance minister. The procedure followed for budget in the center and the procedure followed for the budget in the state, will it be the same? It will be the same. The same procedure is used. Okay, andukane we have to study union and state legislature together. Tarvata we call this as Indian judiciary. The reason why I am saying Indian judiciary is because Supreme Court is the biggest court. It is the highest court. Supreme Court tarvata evaru untaru? High Court. Tarvata other courts. Now can I say that High Court will function under the supervision of Supreme Court, because they are in a hierarchy. Hierarchy ante enti? Idi superior, idi subordinate. When I am saying this is subordinate, this means that it works under the control of Supreme Court. So Indian judiciary we are going to discuss together, because we need to understand how Supreme Court controls the High Court, how High Court controls the lower courts. Then tarvata we go to local self government. Local self government lo first we read about tarvata em ostadi? Anything else? Very good. You have something called as cooperatives. ఇవి మూడు we have to study. కాకపోతే పంచాయత్ మున్సిపాలిటీస్ కి చాలా సిమిలారిటీస్ ఉంటాయి. Cooperatives is not mentioned directly in your syllabus, but you have to know some important aspects of it, because it is one of the recent amendments. There has been a major Supreme Court judgment on it. Okay, then tarvata we will discuss about, what else did I write? I wrote about union territories, and then we will finish scheduled and tribal areas. Idanta tells us how people in India are governed, what are the different structures or institutions we have in the name of government. So indulo what we are going to discuss is, first we should know who will be there in everything. For example, have you heard of the term lieutenant governor? ekkada untaru? UTs. Mari states ki emantam manam vallani? గవర్నర్ అంటాం. ఓకే, అడ్మినిస్ట్రేటర్ అని కూడా వాడతాం. ఎక్కడ వాడతాం అది? యూనియన్ టెరిటరీస్కి వాడతాం. ట్రైబల్ అడ్వైజరీ కౌన్సిల్ అని ఉంటుంది, అది ఎవరికి ఉంటుంది? షెడ్యూల్డ్ ఏరియాస్కి ఉంటుంది. అట్లా వీ హ్యావ్ టు నో వాట్ ఆర్ ద డిఫరెంట్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూషన్స్ దట్ ఆర్ దేర్ ఇన్ ఎవ్రీ లెవెల్. దెన్ who institutions, then what do they do? For example, you have president, you have vice president. Can both of them do the same thing? ఇద్దరు ఒకటే పని చేయలేరు. మరి వాట్ ఈస్ ద రోల్ ఆఫ్ ద ప్రెసిడెంట్, వాట్ ఈస్ ద రోల్ ఆఫ్ ది వైస్ ప్రెసిడెంట్, వాట్ విల్ బీ ద రోల్ ఆఫ్ లోక్సభ, వాట్ విల్ బీ ద రోల్ ఆఫ్ రాజ్యసభ? హౌ ఆర్ దే డిఫరెంట్, హౌ ఆర్ దే సేమ్? అంటే సేమ్ పవర్స్ ఎక్కడుంటాయి, డిఫరెంట్ పవర్స్ ఎక్కడుంటాయి, ఇవన్నీ వి డిస్కస్ ఇన్ వాట్. దాని తర్వాత డూ యూ థింక్ వీ షుడ్ ఆల్సో డిస్కస్ ద రిలేషన్ బిట్వీన్ దెమ్? ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, యూ హ్యావ్ ఎగ్జిక్యూటివ్, యూ హ్యావ్ legislature. What is the relation? Ante are they separate from each other, or is there any overlap between them? ఈ వెన్ డయాగ్రామ్స్ మీకు అర్థమవుతున్నాయా? వాట్ ఈస్ ద డిఫరెన్స్ బిట్వీన్ ద ఫస్ట్ వెన్ డయాగ్రామ్ అండ్ ద సెకండ్ వెన్ డయాగ్రామ్? ఫస్ట్ వెన్ డయాగ్రామ్ ఎగ్జిక్యూటివ్, లెజిస్లేచర్ ఆర్ వాళ్ళకి ఏం సంబంధం లేదు. సెకండ్ వెన్ డయాగ్రామ్ executive is part of legislature, so executive is very much a very active part of whatever the legislature does. ఇంకొక రకంగా చూస్తే ఐ ఫీల్ దట్ ద లెజిస్లేచర్ విల్ బీ ద బేసిస్ ఫర్ ఎగ్జిక్యూటివ్. ఎందుకంటే ఫస్ట్ ఈ మొత్తం సర్కిల్ ఫామ్ అయినాకనే దీంట్లోంచి ఒక చిన్న సర్కిల్ని నేను ఎగ్జిక్యూటివ్ అంటున్నా. సో హౌ ఆర్ దే రిలేటెడ్? ఈ రిలేషన్షిప్ కూడా వి అండర్స్టాండ్. దిస్ ఈస్ ద నెక్స్ట్ పార్ట్ విచ్ వీ కాల్ యాజ్ గవర్నమెంట్ ఇన్ ఇండియా. అయితే దీంట్లో ఒక్క ఇంపార్టెంట్ రిలేషన్షిప్ దట్ వీ హ్యావ్ టు డిస్కస్ సపరేట్లీ ఇస్ ద రిలేషన్షిప్ బిట్వీన్ union and state. So my fourth part of the syllabus will be federal in India. Ante in the name of federalism we are going to discuss the relationship between సెంటర్ అండ్ స్టేట్. మీరు ఎప్పుడన్నా న్యూస్ చూసుంటే దే టాక్ అబౌట్ జిఎస్టీ రిలేటెడ్ ఇష్యూస్. సెంటర్ స్టేట్ ఆర్ ఫైటింగ్ ఓవర్ జిఎస్టీ. ఎందుకు అసలు గొడవ వస్తుంది? హూ ఇంట్రడ్యూసెస్ జిఎస్టీ, హూ ఇంప్లిమెంట్స్ ఇట్, హూ గెట్స్ అ షేర్? ఇవన్నిటికీ ఆన్సర్ ఫెడరలిజంలో ఉంటుంది. ఐఎమ్ షూర్ యూ మస్ట్ హ్యావ్ హర్డ్ ఆఫ్ సంథింగ్ కాల్డ్ యాజ్ రివర్ మేనేజ్మెంట్ బోర్డ్స్. ఎందుకు ఇంపార్టెంట్? ట్రైబ్యునల్ ఒకటి, రివర్ మేనేజ్మెంట్ బోర్డ్ ఒకటి. తెలంగాణ ఆంధ్ర మధ్యలో దెర్ ఇస్ అ రివర్ వాటర్ డిస్ప్యూట్. రెగ్యులర్లీ we talk about river management board, we talk about tribunals, all that will come as part of federalism in India. Indulo in relationship we should first understand the legislative relations, the administrative relations and the financial relations. ఈ జిఎస్టీ అదర్ ట్యాక్సెస్ కమ్ అండర్ ఫైనాన్షియల్ రిలేషన్స్. నేను మీకు సింపుల్గా చెప్తా వాట్ ఈస్ ద ఇంపార్టెన్స్ ఆఫ్ దిస్. సి, సెంటర్ ఆల్సో హ్యాస్ ఎగ్జిక్యూటివ్, లెజిస్లేచర్, judiciary. State also has executive, legislature, judiciary. Don't you think you should divide executive work? ఈ మొత్తం పనులు ఎగ్జిక్యూటివ్ పనులు అనుకుందాం. ఇప్పుడు ఈ ఎగ్జిక్యూటివ్ పనులలో వాట్ షుడ్ సెంటర్ డూ, వాట్ షుడ్ స్టేట్ డూ? ఇఫ్ యూ డోంట్ డివైడ్, వాట్ విల్ హ్యాపెన్? Why should there be division of work? When you have two people doing the responsible for the same job, there should be a division. Why? Conflict ఉండదు, clarity ఉండదు. I will think that it is his job, he will think that it is my job. There will be confusion, there will be chaos, work will not be done. But if you divide, you tell both of you are there to make laws. Parliament is there to make laws, state legislature is also there to make laws. But you parliament make laws on these things, state legislature you make laws on these things. For example, anything that concerns India as a whole, who should have the power to decide? ఇండియా యాజ్ అ హోల్ అంటే మొత్తం కంట్రీకి సంబంధించిన మ్యాటర్ అయితే ఎవరు డిసైడ్ చేయాలి? సెంటర్. ఓకే, లోకల్గా డిసైడ్ చేయాలి. లోకల్ ఇష్యూ అయితే ఎవరికి పవర్ ఉండాలి? స్టేట్కి ఉండాలి. అట్లా దెర్ విల్ బి డివిజన్ ఆఫ్ పవర్స్ బిట్వీన్ సెంటర్ అండ్ స్టేట్. ఆ త్రీ డివిజన్ విల్ బి లెజిస్లేచర్, అడ్మినిస్ట్రేటివ్ అండ్ ఫైనాన్షియల్. అలాంగ్ విత్ దిస్ we also discuss రిలేషన్స్. అయితే నేను మీకు ఇంతకు ముందు చెప్పినా కదా, GST Council will come under financial relations. I'm sure you must have heard of Finance Commission. Is it in news now? Yes? Why? Yes, they are constituting the 16th Finance Commission. 16th Finance Commission comes under financial relations. Okay, when we talk about administrative relations, there is something called as interstate council. There are something called as zonal. All this will be discussed as part of this. Okay, the last part, ఇది అయిపోతే మనం లాస్ట్ మూవ్ అవ్వాల్సింది. See, I will call it as miscellaneous because it has various other topics, but basically in this we are going to discuss several other provisions in the constitution. For example, there are certain special provisions for certain sections of society. For example, there are special provisions for SCs, special provisions for STs. BCs కి కొన్ని స్పెషల్ ప్రొవిజన్స్ ఉంటాయి, ఆంగ్లో ఇండియన్స్కి ముందు ఉండేవి, ఇప్పుడు లేవు. సో ఆల్ దీస్ ఆర్ స్పెషల్ ప్రొవిజన్స్. ఈ స్పెషల్ ప్రొవిజన్స్ అన్నది ఒక పార్ట్. దీని కింద ఐఎమ్ షూర్ యూ మస్ట్ హ్యావ్ హర్డ్ ఆఫ్, what is this? National Commission for SCs, National Commission for okay, ఇవన్నీ స్పెషల్ ప్రొవిజన్స్ కింద వస్తాయి. ఓకే, ఐఎమ్ షూర్ యూ ఆల్ నో దట్ దెర్ ఇస్ రిజర్వేషన్ ఇన్ ఇండియా. How is the reservation given? On what basis? Constitution. Constitution says there should be reservation. Is reservation permanent? Does the constitution set a limit for reservation, or do you think reservation can be there forever? There is a limit in the constitution on reservation. Where is the limit given? Under special provision. So this is how we discuss. Tarvata, the next very controversial provisions in our constitution is what is official languages? What is the national language of India? There is no national language for India. India does not have a national language. India only has official language. Endukundad India kante, India has lot of linguistic diversity. So you cannot promote one language as national language. Okay, so official languages is very very important because it tells us what will be the language of communication between two set of entities, people and government. How do we interact? ఏ భాషలో మనం మన గవర్నమెంట్తో మాట్లాడతాం? What will be the language of communication within government? For example, how will states interact with each other? How will center and states interact? Okay, indulone you have something called as special officer for linguistic minorities. Okay, after this the next important area is, according to me, the most important topic is elections. Here we discuss about a very important body called Election Commission of India. Did you ever hear this term? This term? Okay, we are saying that the notification for election will come very soon. What do you mean by notification? ఉట్టివన్నీ ఉంటుందారా? ఇంకేమేమి ఉంటాయి? It will tell you how the elections will be conducted. How etla, when should you file your nomination? Nomination antama, what is a nomination? When I say I am filing a nomination in elections, what am I doing? I am applying to contest in elections. So it will tell you when to file a nomination. It will tell you who will decide whether your nomination is accepted or rejected. Okay, it will tell you how many days you can do campaigning for elections. Any rojulu cheyochu? 14 days you can campaign for elections. It will tell you when the counting is. All this will be given in election notification. Who issues the election notification? the election commission, but it is issued in the name of the president and governor. Ivanni ekkada rasuntai, they will be written in electoral laws. They are called as Representation of People's Act 1950 and Representation of People's Act 1951. This is newly added in Group 2 syllabus. It is very, very important. E-law lo, we are going to cover this in detail, because in this you will come across a lot of election offences under. Did you ever hear about a term called election offences? Rigging anna padam vinnara? What do you mean by rigging? What do you mean by rigging? Unauthorized vote, pakkalo vote, okare andar vote leseste danni manam rigging antam. Ante you are doing it in favor of one party. Rigging is an election offence. Where is it written? It is written under RP Act. So ivanni we discuss under electoral laws. Then what is electoral reform? What is reform? What do you mean by reform? Reform is making a change or modifying something. So why do you do that change? Why do you modify? You do it because you want betterment. For example, social reforms antam. Ante ardham enti? You are making certain modifications in the social rules. Why? Because you want the society to prosper. You want the society to be at peace. Atlage electoral reforms. We are making certain modifications in the manner of holding elections. Why? Because we want to achieve elections. Okay, what is free and fair elections? What are electoral reforms? What are the electoral reforms till date? Okay, for example, EVM is an electoral reform. Why is EVM an electoral reform? How did it contribute to the election process? Inka? How many of you voted till date? Good. Nice to know that all of you voted. When you went to vote, was it easy to identify the candidate you wanted to choose on the EVM? Was casting your vote easy because of an EVM? So ease of voting, it takes lot of time, it takes little time. Little time. Do you know that, will you be able to find out whether your vote has been accepted and it went to the person you wanted to or not? Yes, because of this, EVM is an electoral reform. So, all this we are going to study under elections. Ivanni, again, these things overlap with society. And remember, apart from this, there will be other statutory bodies that we study. Like, I'm sure you must have heard of the National Human Rights. You must have heard of Lokpal and Lokayukta. Ivanni statutory bodies. This is the basic syllabus you have for polity. Kani, there has been a new inclusion in your syllabus which I am marking as 6, and it is challenges and national security. Basically, this is a topic that is there for civil services in the name of this topic is very, very vast. Civils law 50 marks area idi mains ki. Kani manam what we have to do is, there will be certain basic terms related to internal security, like have you heard of the word insurgency? Northeast lo insurgency, Jammu and Kashmir lo insurgency jarugutundi antam. Did you hear about the word terrorism, extremism? Do you think both of them are the same? There should be some difference between terrorism and extremism. So first, terms. Constitutional provisions related to internal security, like Who do you think will be responsible for the internal security of India? Okay, central government, state government. Police and term ever badyata. Will it be center's responsibility? Will it be state's responsibility? Tarvata, there are several agencies that maintain internal security, of which very, very important are the, can you name a few paramilitary forces? BSF, CRPF, CISF. ఇప్పుడు మనం ఎయిర్పోర్ట్కి వెళ్తే ఎవరు ఉంటారు అక్కడ? CISF ఉంటుంది. So we need to know basics about them. Then we have to know about the various laws that take care of the internal security. Like we have a National Security Act, NSA antar, National Security Act. Okay, ivanni we are going to study as part of internal security. Idoka part aithe. Second part is interstate conflicts. Interstate conflicts, we are going to discuss the different causes of conflict. What are the reasons why states fight in India? Do states fight in India? What are the reasons? What is the most important reason? Inka? First water. Tarvata? Border. Inka? Language issue gaadu. Water, border, inka? Border antene land. You have a dispute over your boundary. Inka? Any other reason why states fight? Amma? GST center state. States in the gotladukunte. Why do states fight with each other? Water is the first reason. Boundary issues are the second. Third, anything to do with your culture, to do with the protection of your own people. Imagine in one state, Marathas are targeted. Okay, Maharashtrians are targeted. What will happen? Automatically in Maharashtra, that state people will be targeted. It might lead to a conflict between the states. So atla we have to discuss the causes, and we have to discuss the measures taken by the government to resolve these conflicts. E measures lone meek interstate council, zonal councils ivanni vastayi. Okay, this is your overall syllabus. Now you can start making a note. Tomorrow I am going to start with this topic. We will be finishing, and let me tell you, I will tell you the tests also. First test will be 1 and 2. Kalipi first test. Once I finish a topic, immediately you have your tests. This will be your test 2. This will be your test 3. Test 4. Test 5. These two included. This will be test 6. Polity test sevi meeku. Test 7. Test 8. Test 9. Okay, these two together will be your test 10. Test 11. Indulo all provisions, ee part anta will be test 12. This will be elections alone will be test 13, and this will be, so in total you will have 14 topic wise tests. Once I finish a topic,